talk with questions about medical marijuana, or if you want to end here, or do you want to hear more about depression and MS as well?
I actually have one question.
Sure.
On the medical marijuana, is it, it's processed, pharmaceutically processed, so is it still, so it's not 100% natural anymore, correct, or no?
Well, they don't add anything to it. I mean, New York State doesn't allow plant-based, you can't buy the plant-based marijuana. Like what you can get is a processed through these various companies who have been licensed to provide the medical marijuana, and they manufacture it into this oil, or into this oil that's then warmed into the vapor or into the pills. So I think you are right, it's not like a plant-based thing where people are, so that's very true. So as far as what's natural or not, I mean, it is what it is. It's sort of based on the
Well, my question is, if you were to take a plant with all 200 compounds or many other compounds composed, as opposed to the process from just those 2 compounds, would there be the same effect and less side effects, or?
Well, even though they're processing this, it still has, it's not just THC and CBD. That's what's measured within that, but it has many more of the, they're not just extracting only THC and CBD.
Okay.
The process of turning it into the tincture, and there's many of the other compounds that would be in the plant that are still in that oil or in the tincture. So it's not just THC and CBD, but those are the things that they use because they're the best understood and best studied. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
My question is, I've gone to a dispensary and I used the sublingual, and I tried the first high THC, low CBD, and I had quite a weird reaction to it. And I noticed the ingredients, and part of it is coconut oil in there, and I don't know if that was partly, might have been it, or maybe additional ingredients in there. But what really is the major difference between the sublingual, the pill, and the vaporizer? Like, which would be better based on the products that are being manufactured by the pharmaceutical companies? So I use still the herbal version, because I did not like the reaction I was getting from sublingual. So, and I feel better with the herbs that I'm using compared to that, which I haven't gone back to.
Definitely heard that from other patients, and I think you're right, because you are getting kind of more of this product that's been like made in a plant, kind of, or a facility. And the main differences that they offer through the program, and that's really what I can speak to, are more the delivery system. So when you take a vapor, the onset should really, at least what people write about, should be about 30 to 60 seconds. It should be a quick onset, because you absorb it into your lungs, and that goes directly in your bloodstream. And then, but it should be quicker off. It doesn't usually last as long as some of the other forms. When you do the oil, it's a little slower onset, so it's like more like 30 minutes, but it's longer on, so it's more like 4 or 5 hours, at least according to the literature that they've dispersed. And then the last form is the pill. So that's the most variable, because even the liquid under the tongue, that goes directly in your bloodstream. But when you take a pill, it gets absorbed in your stomach, that then goes to the liver, and the liver then is there's a direct circulation between the stomach and the liver that breaks it down. So the upshot is that the pill lasts highly variable, anywhere from 6 to 8 to 12 hours. So it's really the onset, and it's much slower onset, because it's not going directly in the bloodstream, it's getting absorbed to the stomach, then going to the liver, and then going on the bloodstream. So it's really like, when are you targeting the pain? Some people come in and they say, you know what, I go to bed at night and I have cramping and spasming and pain, burning all for hours, and I can't sleep, and it keeps me up. And they want to try the pill because they want something that will last them, 8 or 10 hours. Some people come in and say, you know what, I get these spasms, sometimes they just go in runs and I need something to get rid of it right away. So they might try the vapor. Or, everyone's a little bit different, and it's sort of finding that right mix. And my role as a certification of medical marijuana, I mean, I definitely talk a lot with patients and try to counsel them. There's also this flip side when you go to the dispensary. I don't know what your experience was, but most of the patients report that they had a nice conversation. They were able to talk to someone there who seemed to know quite a bit of what products were available, and so they are another side of the education at the dispensary. May not be always true, but at least so far, a lot of people have had reasonable experiences. The other thing about it is very expensive. So that's another. Most of our patients, to be honest, most of the patients who come don't do it because it's too much money. It really is. It's very, very expensive. It's many hundreds of dollars to get the medical marijuana, and I think it's a shame. So, but it's the system we've got, it's what New York State kind of came up with, the legislative compromises that they made to kind of institute the program. So, yeah.
Actually, I have another question.
Sure.
It's regarding what you were just talking about. At what point would the insurance companies see this as a viable solution to start billing for that?
It's hard. I think they will continue to resist doing it as long as they can, because they're profit driven, and I think as long as it's an illegal substance, there's no way that they're ever going to go near it. So it's a federal government issue. It's a political issue. And I think from a medical point of view, I think it's pretty straightforward. There are risks, there are benefits. It can help some patients. Some patients may not. But so the medical stuff isn't the problem. The stuff is the cultural problems, the political issues. And I think as long as there's the DEA is the way it is, it's going to be, the insurance company will never pay for it. And it's a money thing. So New York State has licensed 5 companies who, I think, my understanding is anyway, that they're profit, they're for-profit companies. So it's
well, the government's making it, bucks also, and yet,
So I think at the end of the day, the MS patients or the other patients bear the cost, which is unfortunate. But that's the system we've got right now.
But it's not, but legal marijuana is legal, so why wouldn't it be covered under the insurance company? Because it's legal.
It's legal, and these insurers are multi-state. They work across. There's probably, look, I'm not an expert in the insurance industry or these kind of things, but I'm very certain there's no way they're going to pay for it until they are forced to do it. So, and because they are businesses. But
So, the legal dispensaries, all they have is 3 different formulations?
that's my understanding. 3 formulations: the pills, the tincture, or the vapor.
They can't customize for, like, let's say I want a 75 to 25%, something like that.
No, they've got the ratios. And every dispensary is a little bit different, so I'm most familiar with Columbia Care, which is on 14th Street. The program, the state program sets out, I think, a lot of the terms for, they sort of set the terms for what they, but it's not like another state where Colorado or California is a lot more variety of products, etc.
What about the other compounds? Why aren't they studying that?
I think there's an increased interest in studying medical marijuana, so people are starting to do more research, but for many years they restricted researchers' access to medical marijuana, so they only had a couple of labs, and I think there's one in Alabama that was allowed to study medical marijuana. But the federal government considered it illegal, so they wouldn't, most research dollars still come from government sources, or many of them do. So if the federal government is distributing research money, but you want to study an illegal drug, there's a real problem, and most places could not even get access to it to study it. Basic, using animal models and other things where they try to understand its effect in the body. So they're starting to open those restrictions up, and that was, if you remember that slide, that CNN slide, that part of the story was that the DA wasn't going to loosen the overall consideration of it as a non-medical substance, but they did open up more research avenues for people. So that was slightly loosened. So we'll see. I think it does need to be studied massively.
But would you say it's unlikely that all those other compounds are as strong as THC or CBD?
I think we don't know. I think we know. I don't think we know. But obviously people have, when the work that's been done has been focused on THC and CBD. But there's many other things that may or may not be playing. So that's kind of my take on medical marijuana, and I can talk a little bit about depression if you guys want, or if you, what do you think?
Yeah,
Time?
sure.
Okay, let's do it.
I mean, if you have a few minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Greatly appreciate it.
So listen, I think I'm a psychiatrist and I'm a neurologist. So I've got very interested in. I'm very interested in the effect of MS on people's mood, energy. I think you'll see my point of view as we go through it. So MS clinics have studied depression in their patients, and they found that the rates are much higher than just average groups of people on the street. And the rates are anywhere from 25 to more in the range of 50% lifetime rates of major depressive impact of depression and MS is huge. So people have a lot of, what I hear a lot from patients is they struggle at times. People don't always understand what they're going through. They often isolate themselves. There's often a cycle where people feel their social context go down, their level of functioning goes down. They find themselves having increasing difficulties coping. Work becomes more difficult. It's just, there's so many layers of problems, and it affects quality of life. And there's a real increase for suicide attempts. So it's something that affects many MS patients. So what is depression anyway? You know, people have so many different ideas about this. Is depression something that is out of the DSM, or is it something that's something else? Like, what exactly is depression? And depression's been written about for centuries. You know, this is something from like people would know even in ancient times about depression. And there's been a lot of different theories, and we still don't fully understand it